Welcome to the Florence Foodies podcast, a place for the community to gather and share the stories, voices, and experiences that make Florence feel like home. To support this podcast and the Florence Foodies platform as a whole, click the Support This Podcast link found in the description.
So I would imagine being the GM of a hockey team that you've got a pretty extensive history with the sport. So where does your hockey story start?
So I guess my real hockey story starts. I don't want to date myself in the '60s, early '70s, but growing up in Michigan and playing on the ponds and learning to play hockey in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and then from there we moved all over. So was a youth hockey player up until I was 16, and I just discovered officiating. Still played youth hockey, but 16, 17, 18, 19, thought I was a great hockey player, and wasn't very skilled. So I was an aggressive player, but the problem was I was like 5'8" and 160 pounds, so I was half the size I am now, but not a lot of call for them, and couldn't win a fight. So when that career was over, I got into officiating and was pretty successful. Went up to the AAA level with officiating, and
Okay.
then was ready to retire. Was ready to move on with my life, and got talked into going to run a hockey team in Waterloo, Iowa, and a team that was actually bought to relocate, but we kept it there, and it became very successful, and wound up getting a brand new building built. And you can't get a ticket to a hockey game in Waterloo, Iowa on Saturday night, and that's gone all the way back from when we started it, or took control of it. While I was there, we got into wood bat baseball, and probably had the most successful wood bat baseball team. Besides the Savannah Bananas, which they've taken it to a whole new level. But from there, went over to Dubuque, Iowa, and worked with that team and trying to get that thing back and turned around and on the right track. And then got a call from USA Hockey asking, hey, would you want to develop officials for the U.S.? And very successful there. Was there for 11 years or 12 years, and quite a number of officials went to the National Hockey League, and I think 300 plus are in Division One or minor leagues at that point. It's been so long ago, half of them are retired by now. But after 11 years of that got old, and so I thought it was time to make a change, and I went to Youngstown, Ohio, and helped turn that team around, and eventually it got sold, and the new owners came in and made some changes. And so I was ready to get out of hockey again. And I spent 8 months in pro wrestling. Probably learned the most about sports entertainment from minor league pro wrestling than anywhere. And sitting on my farm in Michigan and enjoying pro wrestling life, and I got a call to go to Winston Salem and restart the team there. And the team there had failed. They had like 9 teams that had failed. And so I went there, and we had a year to build up the Carolina Thunderbirds. Extremely successful. It became the point where we had like a 3 radio station network. We had television. We got to the point where, again, Saturday nights were generally sold out, and you couldn't get tickets. And won a championship there. And then I wanted to stay there, but ownership. I had to have health insurance. So the reason I left was it was health insurance, and I got an opportunity to go to Columbus, Georgia, where Jeff Krupp was starting a team there, and tremendous man to work for. And he gave me the opportunity to go there, and we got that thing turned around. Had to deal through with COVID, and Jeff kept the team going. So probably one of the better people I've worked with. I mean, I've been blessed with Barry Soskin gave me an opportunity, and Bruce Zolden gave me an opportunity in USA Hockey, and so a lot of good people that helped me along the way. But was there, and I needed to get back to Detroit and back to Michigan. My mom's up on the farm, and we got 38 acres, and she's getting up there in age, so had an opportunity to go home, and so I went back to Michigan, and had about a year and a half, and then the ownership group that ran a team, decided to change it, and the new ownership came in and did cuts to everything, and that team has actually gone into mothballs. So there were a lot of underlying issues there, but went back to the farm and was enjoying my life, and I got a phone call and was asked to come to South Carolina. So I'm here.
Here you are.
Someone said, "Hey, you want to get back into hockey?" I said, "Absolutely not." And and Parker was like, "Really, we'd like you to go down there." Between baseball, we had two baseball teams down in Georgia too, Georgia and Alabama. They've been successful. And listen, we know you're going to be successful everywhere you're going. I need you to go down there. I go, I'm not going back south. It's hot. And he was, name your price, and I named the price and realized I probably should ask for more. So here I am.
So we're gonna talk hockey, but I want to go back and touch on this real quick because I didn't know this. I just got to ask the 8-month stint with pro wrestling. What was the role with that?
So it started out as they were looking for sales because I went to a match, and I, pro wrestling fan. I guess nowadays you can admit that. Before you had to keep that hush hush. But met a guy named Joe Bird, and Joe is a tremendous promoter, and he's a heck of a trainer. He's done training with WWE. In fact, we've seen a bunch of his students now in the WWE and the AEW, and so I went there and we started talking. He's like, "Listen, you can sell shows, you can sell promotions." So that's what it was. Is have the match sponsored by Dairy Queen, and if the good guy wins. If the baby face
Yeah.
wins, I should use the terms, I guess. Everybody wins a free ice cream cone, and get one sponsored by the GM dealer. If the heel uh, wins, or baby face wins, everybody wins a free car. And of course, the one thing I learned about pro wrestling is it's not fake. And I really take exception to people say it's fake. It's predetermined. There's no question, and but and it's it's scripted to a point. You can't really script everything because things happen, and the men and women that do it. I mean, obviously, you have to be in phenomenal shape, but they also be smart because things happen that you can't break that
Yeah.
wall. And so I have a lot of respect for that. A lot of respect for the business. We took I helped. I like to think I helped take a team or a promotion, Pure Pro Wrestling, out of Flint, and grow it. We had matches all over Michigan, and
Yeah.
some were successful. Holland, Michigan is huge, and they sell out every time they go there. And some of them were awful, and Manistee didn't do very well for us, but still, Joe's doing a great job. Technically, I'm still the commissioner. So I've been known to suspend people. Every now and then we'll get a big guy about 300 pounds that's totally out of shape, and we'll suspend him for using performance enhancing drugs, which would probably be a Twinkie, but or ding dong, and so it's fun. It's
Yeah.
fun, but it's really it really kind of sparked that change from what we try and do is whether teams like it or not, whether it be in football. I mean, other than the NFL, I think everybody else is in the sports entertainment business.
Yeah.
So you got to look at it that way.
Well, it's a good point. I think what happens is when you're a kid, everything is real in that sense of the word, and then when you kind of break out of that and you realize, or at least in my case, I shifted over. I became a boxing fan when I was a kid. And it was actually when I realized my grandma used to always tell me, she said, that stuff's fake that you're watching. I'd get angry about it. I'm like 7 years old.
Yeah.
No, it's not. And you kind of figure it out. So I became a boxing fan, still a boxing fan. But when you get older, you become an adult and you start to understand the nuances of the business. It's there's a lot to it that you wouldn't it would be easy for people to overlook if they get hung up on that idea. And so it's not fake. It's what happened, just a quick side story. My dad used to take me to matches at the Florence Center. I saw The Undertaker and Yokozuna in a casket match. When Jane and Brittany were on, we talked about this. I won't go back
Yeah.
down that story. But that's a vivid, memory for me. And so I just enjoyed those memories with my dad. So about 3 years ago, I guess, I took the kids SmackDown, I just happened to look. I had not did just want to do something to bless them, something fun we could do. And SmackDown was in Columbia. So I got tickets, surprised them, took them up there to see it. I hadn't been keeping up with wrestling, but I'd found out that they were watching it here and there. So anyways, we get up there and there was a tag team match, and it was, I want to say it was doesn't matter who it was. Anyways, somebody comes flying across the ring with a knee to the face and breaks this guy's nose. And we had actually gotten moved because the cameras were where our seats were at. So they moved us up and we had really good seats. So we weren't that far away. And I told my oldest son what happened. I said, he just got his nose broke. And sure enough, he tags his partner. He goes out, calls for a towel, and I'm watching the towel soaked in blood.
Yeah.
He swaps it out for another one. I'm like, yeah, he broke his nose. And that kind of opened that window for me. And then being an older fan, I start seeing these videos pop up in my algorithm now on YouTube and listening to the older wrestlers' stories that I was familiar with. And you start to just get tied into, there's a lot to it. I mean, things happen, you got to adjust on the fly. You got to be able to think on your feet, and not to mention the athleticism that you got to possess, and then the actual art of storytelling in the business itself. So anyways, there's a lot to pro wrestling that people probably don't realize. That's why it's so popular.
You're absolutely right. I mean, here's the other thing I would tell snobs, and is the people who go to the ballet, the people who watch movies, the people who go to the orchestra. Is that scripted? Yeah, all that is. You know, it's the same thing. It's a different form of
You
art.
go to be entertained. Yeah,
You go to be entertained, and this is, to me, pro wrestling, if it's done right, is a play. You know,
Yeah.
and you're there to go watch a play. And again, it's nice that it's finally that form of entertainment. You know, and it's not for everybody. I mean, listen, I've gone to the symphony and I enjoyed it. I got to see Doc.
Right, but you're not going every week, though.
I'm not going every week, and I went to the ballet once. I've been to a NASCAR race. I've been to the Indy 500. I mean, there's things that I think that you have to, particularly when you're in when you're in the entertainment business, the sports entertainment, you have to go and see what's drawing people. Why is there 500,000 people going to watch the Indy 500 or
Sure.
the Atlanta, the Coca-Cola 500? I mean, what possesses 60,000 people to go sit in a grandstand and watch cars go around? As an ignorant person, I can say I lived in Chicago. I've seen traffic. I lived in Detroit, so I've seen fast traffic. And so it's all that has to is encompassed into everything.
It's got to line up for you. That's right. Well, as a NASCAR fan, I can walk you through some of that. Maybe we go to the race. The 500 is coming up at the end of this month, so if you've never been to Darlington, you might want to check it out.
You know what? I was fortunate enough to go to the Atlanta. I'd love to go to Darlington and take a look. And again, I watching it on TV, and as a Yankee, not growing up with it, I was like, why are we watching cars? Turn left, go fast. Turn left, go fast. I did go to the track down in is it Talladega? What's the one between Birmingham?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so went there, was amazed at the bank turns. Never knew those were bank turns. I think they've got the steepest. I think they're 33 degrees or something, they were telling us.
Neither that or Daytona, one of those two, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's you get a really appreciation in NASCAR. I don't think translates well on television in terms of the casual fans, like hockey. I think watching hockey on TV stinks. I mean, unless you understand the game, it's tough to follow. I think the NFL, on the other hand, probably checks all the boxes. Best sport to watch laying on your couch, and obviously, they don't have to do much of the entertainment part that's right now has gripped our the American psyche,
Yeah.
But at some point they will, because people will be in the stands on their phones texting, and that's what happens in the other sports.
So it's a great point. I think that's a good segue to where we were going to go next. You really have to understand the sport. You got to have some level of intimacy and familiarity with the sport to really become more than definitely a non-fan, but even a casual, and want to participate and purchase tickets and watch on television, especially because you do lose some of that element. So some sports are probably better to watch on television, I would argue, in some cases, but either way, you don't have to deal with traffic. But I remember for me, I actually had a period. My introduction to hockey was the 90s. So I would imagine, being from Michigan, you must be a Red Wings guy.
Actually, no.
Really?
And so first of all, I grew up. I was born in Lansing, and we grew up in Grand Rapids, and we moved quite a bit. But I was being on the western side of the state. I mean, first I was a Muskegon Mohawk fan. I thought the Muskegon Mohawks were the NHL. You didn't know as a kid, and you didn't care. And I just
Yeah.
remember the cool looking jersey and some of their players. But we primarily focused on the Blackhawks. We got a lot of stuff from the Blackhawks. My father used to listen in the car. I still listen to AM radio, and he would listen to KMOX out of St. Louis. He was a blues fan, and um, and then uh, and then I followed the Blackhawks around until I went to Houston. In Houston, we were fortunate enough to have the WHA. I thought the WHA was as good as the NHL. Again, whether it is, it isn't. I had Gordie Howe, Mark Howe, and Marty Howe. So I had the greatest hockey player, at least in my mind, playing in Houston, Texas, and we used to go watch the Arrows play at Sam Houston Coliseum, so yeah, I mean, long story short, I'm a Blackhawk fan. I was able to see him win a couple Stanley Cups, so that's been nice.
Okay. Well, so Sergey Fedorov, Steve Yzerman, Nick
I
Lidstrom, those guys, and even like I remember Peter Forsberg out in Colorado. I'm sorry, Eric Lindros. About said Nick, Eric Lindros with the Flyers. These were the guys with my introduction to the sport, and there was a brief period for a few years where I really got into it, and I was watching, anytime a game was on television, pretty much, and then kind of fell away. And I don't know if it was the announcement of the team because I wasn't really tracking this. I don't know how it happened. It's kind of organically developed, but I think I've decided that coming into this hockey season, probably gonna start watching a little bit more hockey, like NHL level hockey. Now, obviously, we're excited about the team here, and we're obviously about to talk about that in depth. But I actually think going back to it because a lot of sports have changed so much. I used to be in the '90s as a kid. I would watch football and basketball. Well, really, it was football, hockey, and basketball, baseball to a much lesser extent. And then the hockey fell away, and it was just football and basketball. I'd watch a lot of basketball, especially through the early 2000s. Um, but the game's changed so much, and I'm just kind of lost interest in NBA level basketball personally. Back to your point, personal preference, but it's just lost me. And hockey seems to be preserved. It's like almost like it was on ice.
Nice,
Thank you.
nice. I
Thank you.
like
Thank
what
you.
you
Thank
did
you.
there.
So, but yeah, I really was thinking about it. And I said, this coming season, I may, pick hockey, but I got to get familiar with the players. I don't know who anybody is at that level. So, I mean, I'm gonna have to start from scratch, basically. I've recently done that with NASCAR after about a 10-year break. So I think that, I think I'm planning on doing that. And definitely the team here probably had something to do with that excitement and buzz, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Well, I tell you, one of the things that being in Winston Salem, and realizing Winston-Salem's a hockey town. And I do give credit to the Hurricanes. I think what they've done, besides the fact that it's the Carolina Hurricanes, so it's North and South Carolina, and what they've done in their marketing, they've done a tremendous job. I mean, I know people with season tickets have told me they got season tickets. They're from Florence and they drive up, watch the
Yeah.
Hurricanes. And, I love hockey, but I wouldn't buy season tickets and drive up. What is it?
It's a decent drive from
Yeah, it's
here.
2 hours or just under 2 hours. And then, how 95 is. So you never go. It could be days to get up there.
That's a lot of games, too.
Yes, and it is a lot of games, but they've done a tremendous job, and I think they've helped make hockey more accessible in the South. So that's part of it. But yeah, it it comes and goes in spots too. I used to be able to name you every Chicago Blackhawk fan
Mhm.
or every player. I'm sorry. Right now, I just probably couldn't name you four, and so but it's good. I mean, I think hockey's one of those sports. Again, I would beg people go to one game. Just
Yeah.
go to one game and see it, and then if you're excited about it, go to one game and sit low. You know,
Yeah.
pay the high money and sit on the glass. That way you can see how fast it is. Then after that, don't ever buy a seat on the glass. Go sit up high and you can watch it
So you
develop.
can see the
You
game.
can see the game.
Yeah. I agree. It's like that. And ironically, no, just to touch back to it, I said the same thing with NASCAR racing. I said, at the minimum, go to a race and that'll kind of open your eyes to that experience. So ironically, I guess it's weird. I think it's probably weird to me, I would imagine. I don't think you would suspect. Well, even the Hurricanes, for example, the Hurricanes didn't exist. They're a relatively new team. I mean, they're probably 20 plus years now, but they're relatively new. At least in the 90s when I started watching hockey, they didn't exist, put it that way. And so I would imagine you wouldn't think of the Carolinas as synonymous with hockey, and you definitely wouldn't think of Florence, South Carolina, as synonymous with hockey or being a hockey town. But yet, there was a period of time where that's exactly what it was. And I guess the term that people use is cult following, but there was really the ECHL team that was here, the PD Pride, really did have a core following of people that were really fond of the team. For me, I was so much younger. I mean, I'd have been a preteen and teenager that is kind of like you were saying with the team outside of where you were living. You just kind of enjoy the atmosphere and all that. You don't really understand everything that's going on. You can't. But there was a large adult following too, I think. And for whatever the reasons may be, we as a town and a community didn't really um that wasn't spread far enough. And so we didn't hold on to the team. So it had its rise and peak and then it was gone. And I think that what I've said, I made a comment before the announcement was even made that we were getting a hockey team. I actually made a video here in the studio and I made a comment there, and I made it a few different times in different places that I think we didn't realize what we had. And so that league, the ECHL, would, end up growing. And as I understand the story, it was kind of still in a developmental process at that time and wasn't quite what it would end up becoming. I get the sense, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels to me that now we've basically been given a second opportunity. We're in a similar type of situation, and I think Florence is in a much different place than it was 20 plus years ago. So, not only those people that were fond of the previous hockey team that was here, a lot of them are still present. Some were youth like myself that have now grown up and still have that element of excitement, but now can be an adult and really appreciate the broader sense of what it means to have a team and everything that goes along with that. And now you've got all these transplants and all these other people and people from areas like Detroit, as we were just talking about, that really have an opportunity to embrace the IceCats team, the league. So what I said all that is kind of set you up to give us a breakdown of what the league is, where the league is at, and then specifically, more particularly, what's the vision for the team? Where's the team at currently and this upcoming season and even beyond?
Well, you bring up a couple good points there. I mean, first of all, I'll tell you right now, I don't believe that Florence, I don't believe that Florence messed up hockey. I think hockey messed up Florence, and what I mean by that is looking at the numbers. The Pride, who did a tremendous job when they were averaging 4,000 even up to the last year, and then they apparently had a deal to go to Myrtle Beach. Problem was there was no rink in Myrtle Beach, so I think it was one of those where someone said, "Hey, build it and they'll come," and so they said, "Hey, we're going to Myrtle Beach," and then the Myrtle Beach was like taxpayers were like, "I'm not paying $20 million," and this would have been in the 80s for a hockey team or the 2000s, and so they went away, and then another group came in, and they really struggled to market. But to your point, it's a second chance, but it's the onus is on us. I mean, you don't have to go to a hockey game. And you don't have to go to a baseball game. You don't have to go to NASCAR. And so the onus is on us to provide that family affordable, and get your value, your dollar's worth. And so, that's important to us. It has to be, otherwise we fail. And it's I see teams that fail. I've got a saying. I always say it. There's no such thing as a bad market, only bad marketeers. I mean, you got to work hard. Nobody's going to give you hey, you know, fine. We have hockey here. 500 people signed up overnight for season tickets. Okay. That's phenomenal. We're up to close to 1,200 tickets now. I think we're just over 1,200 season tickets. And, and a lot of that's work. A lot of it's repairing some bridges. I mean, we had things happen outside of our control. There was a football team that came in here and took money away from people, and we've safeguarded that now. I mean, our money's going to go sit with the Florence Center until we actually play. And in fact, today, check our social media out. I think that our boards have arrived, and they were setting up the boards right when I left to get here. Having said that, I mean, we're in the Federal Hockey League, and I will tell you that I've been in the Federal Hockey League, I think, for close to 10 years now, and despite itself, it's got some great people who started it and operate it and oversee it, but it's also got the same people make some of the dumbest decisions in the world. But despite itself, it's done very well, and I give Don Kernan, the commissioner or president, I don't know what he is of the league, but he runs a league. He's stuck with some people, and now we're at 14, we're at 14 teams. We're basically from Topeka, Kansas, to Athens, up the seaboard coast to Danbury, and so we've got some real good people involved now. The league is tremendous. Most minor leagues that start don't last past year two, and I think we're on year 10 or something like that. So Don's did a tremendous job, and we've got some tremendous partners. We're single A. We're independent. The nice part about that is our coach Gary Graham, who's got all this. I don't know him very well, but his background. He's been in the ECHL. He's been in the SP. He's been working with Fort Wayne, and Fort Wayne, the Comets are probably one of the best minor league organizations ever, and he wins. And so the nice part is if our team stinks, we can blame him. I don't want to put pressure on him, but it's not like Washington is sending down their players or Columbus or I'm sorry, yeah, or Columbus, the Blue Jackets or people like that. So that's the nice part is we get to control our team and it's our players. Nick Graham and Gary, they're not related. They're from the same city, which is weird. I didn't think Fort Wayne was that big to have 2 Grahams in it. But anyway, Nick's done a great job of recruiting people. Parker Moscow, who played for me in Columbus, and still hired me. He's got connections, and of course Gary's got connections, and so we have people that want to be in PD. I mean, that's you have people that want to play pro hockey, right? You're a 24-year-old or 22-year-old, you just got out of college. Hey, you want to go be a rock star for 2 years of your life? No, you're not going to get paid very well and this and that, but you could go be a rock star and play in front of hopefully big crowds. And so that's the general mindset, I think, of a lot of minor league sports athletes. But then to have people who want to go to your location, I mean, that says something a lot about what we're building here. And there's other teams. People want to play in Winston-Salem. People want to play in Athens and Columbus, Georgia.
Yeah, and I mean, I appreciate you taking the onus and putting it on the ownership and the team, but I will reciprocate that type of energy and say that I really hope that our community actually does provide a place that, in this example, the players would want to go to, and the buzz starts to go around maybe after a season to say, hey, like this is really a fun place to play and live. I hope that our community really does embrace this team and it flourishes here. And of course, winning is great. I mean, it's sports, it's competition, so you want to win, but right out the gate, just the excitement of being able to have games to go to and have that competition even here is something we should all be excited about, I think.
Well, you're absolutely right. And to be successful, we have to do a couple things. First of all, we have to become the fabric of the community. I can tell you that nobody has a cross word about the Pride. Everybody talks about the Pride and how great they were and how they were involved in the community. And I hope we can duplicate what they did and what they became. And you're right in terms of the game. That has to be the place to be seen, right? So besides, I have this guy who's making steel, or the guy, who's making. We got a big couple food plants here. I would know about food plants, and you know a little bit about food too. But besides the I don't want to call them blue collar, but people who work with their hands. I need the doctors. I need lawyers. I need the politicians have to be. That's the place to be seen. And it has to be because it's friendly family, it's clean, and it's value, And the other thing is, bottom line is we're in business to make money. I mean,
Sure.
this isn't a tax write off. Everybody thinks
Right.
that teams are tax writes off, and very few of those teams exist. So we have to be able to draw. We have to have community support, corporate support, which right now we're doing pretty well with. But we want to average 3,000 a game. If we average 3,000, we'll be successful and we can be profitable. On the same token, we have a responsibility back to the community, and that's to raise awareness for nonprofits. That's to, the biggest thing is the ice. Now we're going to be entrusted with the ice in ice programs, I should say, like figure skating, like minor, youth hockey, adult hockey, broom ball, public skating. Those are all things that we're going to have to carry, and that's a responsibility for us. I know at one time youth hockey had 400 plus kids in it here, and again, those kids are grown up now because that was 20 years ago. But so they're having families, so I got to get them. We got to figure out a way to get those kids on the ice,
Yeah,
and you got to keep it affordable too.
yeah. Well, that'd be a tremendous opportunity also. Um, just mentioning that. Now, just going backwards a little bit, but I would say that the sense that I've really gotten is because I guess it could be you could run into a brick wall, but I haven't seen this, and I don't think that y'all have anybody that in your circle. All I've seen is a tremendous positive response. So there's not this just talking about in relation to the Pride team. I think that people have demonstrated a maturity level enough to just completely separate from that and now embrace what's new. So it's really, I think, at least anybody I've talked to and myself is viewed as this is a legacy area of our community, and that's exactly what it is. This is a new opportunity, and the only value really in that being the pride is realizing, that was something fun that we had, and we've been given, like I said, a second chance to have that. And I think too, just sitting here listening to you talk, I'm like, just to kind of go back and touch on the pro wrestling thing because of what you highlighted and extracted out of it, that entertainment value is, that's something when you go to these arena sports events, that's really a big part of that whole bang for your buck and that dollar value. And so I would imagine your experience with that's probably put you in a position to have some creative ideas and things like that. So that's something I'm excited about, just listening to you talk about it, I guess.
Yeah, we're working on our promo nights. We have them. We just haven't released them yet, just because we've got so much on our plate that we hope to be releasing them soon. But obviously, opening night, and I believe we just struck a big deal with Pepsi of Florence that the first 1,500 fans are going to get a keepsake, of hockey's return, and so obviously you got opening night. We play on New Year's Eve. I know our owner's going to do a fireworks show on New Year's Eve.
Nice.
You got your standards, your military night, and we was at Fort Jackson
Or Jackson, Columbia.
and the Air Force Base, Shaw. Talked to them, and so we expect a huge night, a big turnout there with the soldiers and the support staff there, and your hometown heroes, and so faith and family night. So those are all on, and then we'll try other things. We might try liquor and handgun night. That might be a good night. I'm just kidding. But
Sit that one out. I don't want to catch any stray bullets.
yeah, no, it's half of you get handguns, the other half get liquor, and we'll
Getting
see
hit
what
with
happens.
a puck is one thing. Getting hit with a bullet is
yeah.
completely different.
Well, the guns wouldn't be loaded. We're not that. But anyway, no. Listen, and it's got to be fun, and it's got to be entertaining. It's the thing, because here's the thing about hockey is I could sit here, and again, I've lived it, and I've refereed in front of 10,000. I've played in front of hundreds, and and I can tell you how much I love the game. I can tell you what a great game. I can talk about skill. I mean, we go 35 miles. Well, guys who aren't my shape, the good guys go 35 miles an hour. When they're skating, they're banging each other in the boards. We've got pucks that go 100 miles an hour. We are carrying a weapon, a lethal weapon that we could use. Fights happen and everything else. I can tell you what a great game it is, but the bottom line is that's not going to sell people to come here. So what I need is when you show up at the game, the bathrooms better be clean for mom. Because mom's the one that's going to win this one. Don't think I don't know that mom's, so, we got to have something for mom, and, make sure those bathrooms are clean. And then dad, make sure he can get an ice cold beverage there of his choice, and then the kids, the kids are the key, they better be able to see the mascot. They better be able to, dance to win their dinner and various things like that. But here's the thing. I probably been to, who knows, 10,000 games in my life. I don't think I could remember the single score of one of them, but I
Right.
remember the chance that I got to play like the Oregon at Sioux City, or when I got, caught a T-shirt or caught a puck,
Yeah.
and as important, you remember the people that take you. I mean, I always remember sitting in the stands in Muskegon and watching the Zamboni go around.
Yeah.
You know, I do remember the smoke and the smell of popcorn too, so that's a little bit different. But no, so that's the whole thing in becoming ingrained in that community, and you got to make sure they get their value.
Does the mascot have a name yet?
No, in fact, I'm waiting on the mascot to get ordered. We thought we had everything set up, and this company is him and Han, but I want to have two. I think we'll start probably with one, and we'll probably do a name the team contest like we did in Winston. We had two mascots, and obviously their names were Winston and Salem. And then in Columbus we had two dragons, and they were Scorch and Torch, which are hockey terms too. So here I don't know what we'll do. We'll get mascots, and we'll do probably a name the team contest. I was thought about doing Pete and Dee, but then or P and D, but then I'm just thinking, well, Peter's probably better. So Pete and D, or we'll have the community name them, but they'll be Lions, and we got to get on that sooner rather than later. But yeah, we'll definitely have mascots, and the other thing is it gets back to Dad's got $100 in his pocket. Can he afford 4 tickets to the game and get him some popcorn and get the kids something to eat?
Well, we need that. I mean, people, and I say this all the time because there are things to do in Florence, but you hear it, especially in the age of social media now. But even growing up before that, people say it all the time. There's nothing to do in Florence. It's not true. We had the volleyball coach, the head volleyball coach, and the assistant volleyball coach for Francis Marion University here yesterday. That episode will come on previous to this one. By the time you're hearing this, that one's out. And those games are free. Collegiate, sport that's right there, right on the outside of Florence. So I mean, there's things to do, but this is going to be a huge entertainment opportunity. I got a family of 5, 5 kids, so it's 7 of us total, and you best believe this is an opportunity for us to get out and do something that we're looking forward to. So I will say this too, going back just to the marketing and that whole aspect of building this team and getting it ready to roll. I personally think the uniforms look great, the logo design. So I don't know who was responsible for all of that, but I think that came out really good.
Well, I could get our owner mad and say it was me, but no, it was him. Parker, listen, Parker's a hands-on owner, and he knows a lot about. Obviously he's played, and I think he's probably the only owner in the league that played in the league. So but he did a nice job and captured I think the spirit of the community and the colors of the building and everything else. We're primarily a blue and a light blue, and then some black and red in there.
Mhm.
So I think he did a real good job. Obviously the name the team contest, 17,000 plus entered their name, and I will tell you that Pride won. The problem with the Pride is somebody has copyrighted
legal,
the
yeah.
name, and somebody copyrighted a logo.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is public knowledge, but Parker's putting close to $1 million. In fact, I think we're over $1 million into the center. I mean, we got a chiller that's showing up. We got a Zamboni that's showing up. I mean, the chiller's 600,000 plus. And then the Zambonis are usually 30 to 40,000. And then you've got the boards. And while we're getting the boards from Monroe, they're being set up right now. We're going to have to get a welder out there to fix them, and we'll be an investment in the boards. And then glass. I mean, you got to put the glass in, you got to put the benches in. So he's got quite an investment into the community. But yeah, he did a nice job and did his homework when he set things up here.
Yeah, that's everything that we've seen. Even from the opening press conference, I got the chance to attend that. I got pulled by news stations, ended up on the local news, but so yeah, it looks like everything's being done with excellence. I'm gonna give a space at the end just for you to kind of go over when the season starts, when the first puck drops. Of course, I always put links down to any where to purchase tickets, anything relevant website wise down in the show notes, and we'll touch back on that on the back end. So just to shift over for a moment until we get back to the closing, or get to the closing, I guess I should say. When we first spoke, you mentioned, you referenced your history and background with Chicago to me. Obviously,
14 years there or 16 years.
so obviously the kind of foundation to this platform has been food and food related, and in our food scene locally in our community.
Plus, you can tell I'm a food expert.
Well, Chicago's a whole different world. Whole different world. So I mean, it wouldn't be hard to become a food expert, quote unquote, in a city like Chicago. So I just curious, what when you think about Chicago's food scene, just in some short words, what really comes to mind? Obviously, people think about Chicago style pizza, but
So yes, and I'm glad you brought that up because see
Yeah.
now we're gonna get into food, and you can tell I'm an expert. There's two types of Chicago pizza, and everybody focuses on the deep dish,
Mhm.
right? And I actually there's a place still in Palatine, Illinois, called JJ Twigs. It's actually a double decker. It's like a pizza. It's the base and then and then whatever you want to put in it, and then they build it on top. It's like deep dish. It's phenomenal, and so that's my go-to pizza. But if you go to other little restaurants and taverns, and the nice part about Chicago is they've got all these little small. They're not bars because they serve food, but they're not restaurants because they're primarily a bar. And Pizza Hut came up with that thin Chicago. That's really more Chicago pizza. That casserole that we serve is really, I mean, it's a Chicago thing, but the tourists are really big into that. I can't think of the name of the pizza place. It's by Rita's off of Second Avenue. Is it Rise?
Where is this?
It's off of Second Avenue here in Florence.
Rebel Pie, the pizza place.
Yes, it
Yeah,
must be
Rebel Pie,
Rebel.
yeah.
And so they had a thin crust that I got to taste almost like a Chicago pizza. So
They do Neapolitan style pizza over there.
so
Yeah.
so pizza's the one thing, and then obviously we got to talk about the hot dog.
Right.
And legally, if I was in the city of Chicago and I saw you and you're over the age of 12 and you put ketchup on the hot dog, legally I'm required to punch you in the back of the head. Yeah, you don't put you don't put ketchup on a hot dog over the age of 12. But and actually, I found out the reason because of that. That came from back, if you remember, Sinclair wrote that book about how meat was made and anything. The thought was if you had to put ketchup on the hot dog, that hot dog wasn't a good quality hot dog. So
Okay, so it's
that's
like
where
steak sauce and a steak, basically.
yes, that's where that
All right.
stems from. But yeah, in Chicago we had those hot dogs that look like gardens,
Yeah.
and our pizza's that. So the one thing I do miss, and I have not been able to find in the South, is an Italian beef.
That's what I was waiting for you to say.
Yeah, where can I find an Italian beef? And it's basically roast beef that's been boiled or in the sauce,
Mhm.
and then you throw that on a Kaiser roll or a bun, and thick bun because it's going to be sloppy, and then you put whatever else you got your cheese on there, and then the question is, do you put the peppers or anything like that? And of course, I'm going to tell you, you never eat that in the car because it drips and it's
Yeah.
going to be all over you.
Well, you dip it in the au jus too
You
before you
dip
wrap
in the
it,
au
right?
jus, or what they do is they dip the whole sandwich in it,
Right, yeah.
and
you
then
dip
give it to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I mean it's a mess, and it's very Chicago.
Isn't Patillo's a Chicago-based restaurant?
It absolutely is, and
Yeah.
I'd be lying if I didn't say every time I go there, at least one of my meals is there, and it's the Italian beef with.
It's on my short list. I've never had it. They opened one, I think, in Orlando, but I feel like I probably would need to go to Chicago and just do it the right way.
As a foodie, yeah, I mean, it's your choice. You can go to,
Yeah.
if you're going to go to a Catholic church for the first time, you can go to the one around the corner, or you got a chance to go to the Vatican. Go to the Vatican.
Yeah, just the authentic experience. I'm glad you said that though, because just me personally, when I think about if I was in Chicago, it wouldn't be the deep dish pizza. Honestly, that really doesn't appeal to me. I've never had one. I don't think. I probably would try it just so I could say that I did, but that's the only reason I would be doing it. Like I said, I said casserole pizza. It's the Italian beef, and I figured Patillo's. I probably would want to stop there first, and then. But I'm sure there's some mom and pop somewhere that probably
Yes,
knock it out the park.
I will tell you, there's like Luke's was near our place. There's a couple small ones. The thing to look for is you're going to see this yellow sign that says Vienna hot dogs. And so if you see that sign, that means they got that Italian beef. And I don't know what the if Vienna makes the beef. But yeah, and go to the mom and pops, because the mom and pops, usually the French fries are fresh cut, which,
Mm.
living in Youngstown, Ohio, that was their go-to. Youngstown has the best French fries I've ever had anywhere. I don't know why. Maybe they're close to Pennsylvania, and then wedding soup. I mean, that's the takeaway from Youngstown, Ohio. Those are the big.
What's wedding soup?
So wedding soup is like a soup with it's got little bitty sausage in it, and then it's got like noodles or a pasta based in it, and it's a brothy sauce. It's pretty good. So yeah, Youngstown, when I was there, was the wedding soup was amazing, and nobody had fake potatoes. They were all
Yeah.
fresh cut in the back room, And so in Detroit, Detroit was pizza too. And in Detroit, the big thing there is, it's kind of it's not the crust is thick, and they call it Detroit style, thick crust, and then they try and serve it so there's no middle. It's all corners and
Yeah.
sides and stuff like that. Houston was obviously Hispanic food.
Mhm.
Winston, I mean, we can start the argument: mustard base versus vinegar based barbecue. And Columbus. Columbus has scrambled dogs. I don't know if you've heard of them.
No.
It's basically you take a chili dog, dump it in a boat, and
Yeah.
again, it's just an excuse to get food all over you. I mean, so they dump they put 2 buns in there, they put 2 hot dogs in there, chopped up, chili, cheese, onions. It's like a chili, but it's served in a boat, and
You eat it
that's
with like a fork?
yeah. Oh,
Okay.
absolutely. You have to eat it with a
Okay.
fork. I mean, and again,
Interesting.
you're going to get some on you. You're bringing some to work
Yeah.
afterwards. So all the places I've lived, that's been, that's the hot spot. I will tell you, Waterloo, you know, pork chops and fresh corn, man. Some of the best sweet corn I've ever had, which makes sense because all the pigs and all the corns are there. And then in Dubuque, probably one of the best German restaurants I've ever eaten at. So um, I don't mean to digress on
No,
the food,
it's
but
great. It's actually perfect because now, life has brought you to Florence, South Carolina, and anybody familiar with this audience, definitely, I've said this a billion times, but we have a developing food scene. We're in much of perhaps a renaissance, a transition, a growth. I don't know what term you want to use, but there's a lot of development and growth and exciting things happening. But really, our base, culinary wise, cuisine wise, is the PD style barbecue. You referenced it. So it's vinegar pepper based. That's kind of our history. There's a lot of Southern cuisine, especially coming out of my grandma's kitchen, that I could go through. But I think if you had to have a staple item that we're most known for, that would have to be it. So Chicago, the Italian beef, deep dish, um, New York pizza, all these places you go, as well. The PD is whole hog, or at least vinegar pepper style barbecue.
so the other thing is it chicken bog?
Now, I was going to reference chicken. Yeah, I made chicken bog Sunday, actually. Big
So,
old pot. It was
yeah,
really
chicken
good.
bog. So there were things down here that I hadn't tried, and the chicken bog, I'm like, okay, I get it now. And obviously the barbecue, I went to, is it Holy Smoking downtown? Is that
Yeah.
they had they really good barbecue, and they had rib tips that I thought were amazing. Right down the street, I think, is it City Hall. I had
Town Hall?
Town Hall. They
Yeah.
had cocktail shrimp. And the
Mhm.
shrimp, needed shoes. They were so
Yeah.
big. So that was it there. I mean, so yeah, I want to try everything. I will tell you this, and I don't mean to offend the South, but I don't know what this deal is with your boiled peanuts. I've tried them, and I just don't get it. Again, half of it ends up in my shirt. I don't know if that's just because I'm a big fat Yankee or what, but I don't get the mushy peanuts.
You know,
I like peanuts, and so from this,
Yeah.
being a Southerner, I like peanuts, but I just don't understand the boil part.
It's funny that you've referenced two things that I've heard now as I've grown that I was oblivious to. So the ketchup on hot dogs thing, I've heard that a few different times from different people. I didn't even know that, which honestly, I always thought the staple for a hot dog was ketchup, mustard, chili, and onions. That was all I knew growing up. Now that I've gotten older, I really probably wouldn't put ketchup on a hot dog that much. I usually would just do like mustard, chili, and coleslaw,
There you
really.
go.
But that was not because I knew you weren't supposed to. I didn't even know that was a thing. So I've heard that a few times. That's pretty funny. And then also the boiled peanuts is another thing that I was oblivious. I didn't know I didn't know that was so weird to people, is I guess what I'm trying to say, but I've heard multiple people from other parts of the country say that, say, boiled peanuts. Like, I don't even understand. I didn't know that was strange. We've had them. I've grown up with them. We've had them our whole life. Again, it's something I'm not, if they went away, I wouldn't lose sleep, but I mean, if they're there, I'll eat them.
No, you know what? It's funny. It's a stable life, and obviously, I'm saying a lot of jest. And I forgot you mentioned hot dogs in Winston Salem. It's hot dogs, but that's where I learned about the coleslaw. Like north, we don't put coleslaw, but the south it was chili and onions and mustard, cheese, and then the slaw. And so Kermit's Hot Dogs, got to give them a plug if you're ever in Winston. Great place to go eat there. And so. But to your point, I mean, I love the fact that every region has something different. I really
Mhm.
do. And I've been so blessed. I think I've been to 49 states. Maybe the only
Nice.
one I'm missing is not Alaska, Hawaii. That's a long plane trip. And I can get a pineapple anywhere, So,
We have a Hawaiian restaurant in town.
you know what?
Aloha
You're
Kitchen,
right. I
yeah, we
need to
do.
try that. It's up by the farmer's market,
It's
right?
good too, yep.
So,
Mhm.
like when you go to Kansas City, you get a steak, right? You get or ribs, and so I've been fortunate enough to go to Kansas City. I went to Nashville and probably ate one of the best steaks I've ever had. Also, the first place I ever got a fried lobster tail,
Hmm.
and the waiter came out and we had a group with us, and he says, "You guys aren't from here," which people from Chicago and the Midwest, where we tend to have nice manners, but you can tell by our accent, no, we're not from the South. And he says, okay, I'm going to recommend the fried lobster tail. And he goes, I was like, who decided to fry a lobster? I mean, you'd think that's that piece of meat is, because you're in the South, just get used to it. Had that, was phenomenal. Never had
I
fried
bet it
lobster.
was. I've never had fried lobster
It
either.
was phenomenal. And I mean, I will associate Nashville with fried lobster, which, doesn't make a lot of sense, but, um, I went to Baltimore and we went to a little tavern. A friend of mine went to a little tavern. They again found out we're not from there. They bring out this paper, big block of butcher paper, and throw 20 crabs in front of us and a mallet. And so I got fresh crabs from up in Baltimore. So I'm still trying to learn here. I'm in all the restaurants here, and so there are things I missed that I haven't found yet, and I'm sure there's things that I'll enjoy, and we'll figure out what's best in Florence.
Is there anything that you can say about plans for the concessions at the IceCats games?
Absolutely, I can. By the way, I have to say this because I know that people in my face are, if I didn't mention Waffle House. So that was the one thing I discovered moving to the South was Waffle House.
There's no Waffle House in the Midwest?
There is up there made it up to Toledo now. Before they were in Findlay, Ohio, which is about 60 mile or about 40 miles south of Toledo. But we now have Waffle House in
Okay.
Toledo, which is right on the border. But I was amazed at your Southern Hibachi, known as Waffle House, and it's not a house; it's a home. Having said that, let's talk about Florence. So we got together with Tim and Rex, who operates the building. We said, listen, most buildings are known for something. And again, I haven't attended an event that they've sold concessions there. I've been to a bunch of events, but none of them had sold concessions. And I said we should do something with the visiting teams. For example, when we play Carolina, the Carolina Thunderbirds, birds have wings, so let's try and do something with wings. We play the Atkins, not Atkins, that's a diet. Athens Rock Lobsters. Do something with a lobster roll, right? Um, we play the dragons, the river dragons, and so maybe we do something with wings. Haven't figured out what we can do for the Monroe moccasins. I don't think people want to come eat snake, but yeah, we're planning on doing something, and then we're going to have a special alcoholic drink called the Perfect Drink, and we partner with Gorget Distillery out of, is it Lugoff?
Lugoff? Yeah.
Lugoff, South
Mhm.
Carolina. So we'll have a special drink that the adults can get, and it's kind of a fruity rum taste, and and then we'll work on something for us. I mean, I want something that's exclusive, not exclusive. There was something that when people go to an IceCats game or really any event in Florida is, hey, maybe that's a place you get Italian beef or something like that.
Hey, that's a good idea.
We'll figure it out.
You can bring that influence maybe and make that happen.
There we go. Or just get rid of all the ketchup containers in the building.
Well, my idea got shut down in the name the team contest. I probably had the only vote, I guess, because it gained no traction. I posted it and nobody liked it at all.
What was it?
It was the PD Hogs, and I had a logo. I had AI generate a logo, and it was like the colors it was a black base with red and like gold. Had this real mean looking hog to play on our barbecue culture. And then you have barbecue sandwiches. There's a bunch of different vendors probably locally that could do it.
First of all, I like the name.
Nobody liked the okay. Well, thank you.
Because there's the Rockford Ice Hogs. Maybe we're the PD Porkers. I mean, that way you get the PP right, and it's obviously it would be a pig, and probably got to throw some pink in there, and so no, I like all the names, and as I said, the top pick was by far the pride, but people own that, and so came up with the IceCat.
Well, it's all good. It came out great, and I really do mean that. I think especially once the reveal for the logo and the jerseys came out, so I'm definitely looking to get me one of those black IceCats jerseys, size large. If anybody out there wants to send one my way.
And by the way, we'll probably do a rebranding night where we pick a fun name, and I know that teams do that all over where they're different names, so maybe we could be the Hogs or the Porkers.
It's all good. It was just
the barbecue stains.
I was just throwing that out there for all the people in the group that didn't like my idea, just to take a little shot. But yeah, that's great. So I do have to ask you. So we've got a segment called the Florence Foodies' Favorite Florence Food Item. This segment is presented by Drayton Realty Group. And in your case, relatively new to town, you've been making your way around. You've referenced some places, so I'm going to put you on the spot. But I did tell you this ahead of time. You only got to name one item. If you got a couple, that's fine. But what's something you've had in Florence County that you've particularly liked thus far?
Probably the barbecue, and I've had it a couple places. I had it at Seminar Brewing. I think there's actually Elliott's, and then at Holy Smokin'. And the thing I was going to bring up at Elliott's is they've got this jalapeno sausage.
Oh, the sausage, man! That sausage.
Oh my
and then
gosh!
The PD maple.
I don't know where to get
magic
that
mustard. Yeah,
I've asked them where to get that mustard at, and they won't tell me. So
no, it's really good.
So yeah, probably
really
good.
Good.
Probably those two places have been, that has stand out, and like I have to discipline myself to prevent from going there because I could eat that sausage. I mean, every day
it's really good.
It's really good, and as I said, I had some of their barbecue, and their barbecue was good. And I really never was a barbecue guy. Full disclosure, it gave me a lot of stomach acid.
Yeah,
I've eaten both places, and they've been great.
Well, you're in the home of barbecue now. This is
Are we vinegar based or we're mustard based?
This is vinegar. Okay. So when you start to get over towards Columbia, which I spent about 5 years of my childhood in Columbia. So they call it Carolina Gold. There's a place called Maurice's Barbecue's, a fast food joint. It's actually pretty good though for a fast food drive-through place. And I just remember that growing up. So me, a little bit different than a lot of my fellow citizens in Florence, even though I was born here, but I have an affinity for both. I like both. But yes, this is vinegar pepper based country, and that is the origin of whole hog pulled pork barbecue. So just so you know, you're at the home now, so it makes sense that now you say, okay, this isn't bad. Well, this is where it all started, right here in this part of the country.
Well, that's good, and of course, we're going to play Winston-Salem, and so they're North Carolina, so I don't know how they can be considered a southern state, but we'll make fun of the fact that they're mustard based.
Yeah. Yes, that's a great idea.
Yeah, we can do a barbecue challenge, and
I like it. I will eat both.
But no, and again, the chicken bog, I tried that. I enjoyed that, but I'm sorry you couldn't sell me on the boiled peanuts.
Well, that's all right. I don't take any offense to that, but some people might. So I'll leave that between you and them. But I tell you what, that's Well, that's all good. I would like to, like I referenced earlier, to give you an opportunity just to go ahead and kind of communicate when the season starts, how people can purchase tickets, single game tickets, season tickets, all of that good stuff, merchandise, anything that needs to be known as we start to ramp up, getting ready for the first puck drop.
So season starts October 10th. I believe that's a Friday. That'll be our first home game, and the guys report October 1st. So we'll have about 7 days. We'll have 4 days of tryouts, and then we'll have 6 days of training camp, and then we play, home opener on the 10th on a Friday, and the 11th we play too, and then we hit the road. So the season will run all the way until April, the second week in April. We play 28 home, 28 road, plus playoffs, which should go an extra month, for us. Um, the ice goes in the middle of September. So I will tell you, Carolina Coastal has a hockey team. People don't know that. Are going to be playing in our building. And so we want to work with them. And we hope to get USC over here to play a game against them. And so that's the ice portion of it. If you want to get season tickets, you can call the Florence Center. You talk to Phil. If you talk about want to do some kind of corporate thing, you can again call the Florence Center, and I don't remember the number off the top of my head, which I should. Or you can email me. Very simple email. It's GM, like general manager, at PD, and it's PEEDEE, prohockey.com. And our website's pdprohockey.com. That can lead you to everybody. There you go. You got it right in front of you.
Yeah, I do. I need to update this shirt. I got this on
We
announcement day.
We
so
just got shirts in this or yesterday morning. So we got brand new
at
shirts
the Florence Center.
at the Florence Center with logos and everything.
Well, I might come by and pick one up.
And by the way, we're about to sign another deal with is it Tomlinson?
Thomason's Warehouse. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good local store.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so they're going to carry our merchandise.
Awesome. Well, that's good news.
So during the week, you
Okay.
don't have to rely on us being at the Florence Center, and you can go over there. So we hope to have our stuff in their building and their stores in September.
Okay, that's good information. So as always, I'll put any relevant links. I'll actually put your email address down in the show notes also, just
Perfect.
since you mentioned it. But I'll put anything that you need to get access, more information, schedule, tickets, merchandise, any of that good stuff down in the show notes in the description of this episode.
And close it. First of all, I appreciate being on the show, number one. I will tell you, I got excited. You said, Florence Foodies. I was expecting a buffet, so we'll have to talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got ideas in the works.
You gave me a bottle of water, so that was good. No,
Yeah,
listen,
we got some
I'm
soda and
kidding.
coffee.
Yeah, I am excited about learning about the area, and besides hockey, listen, I'm really excited about that, and I can't tell you how incredible the response have been. So
Yeah.
hockey wise, it's good. But going back to the show, I want to find those little mom and pop places that people are going to say, listen, go there, eat the food, don't look in the kitchen, but it's going to be good. I mean,
Yeah.
and I'm sure there's places just not here like Hartsville and Darlington
Mhm.
and once you get the traffic figured out going to Myrtle Beach, I'll be making the trip over there a little bit more. But
You'll figure it out.
yeah,
Take a little time, but you'll figure it out.
somebody told me some shortcuts they know
Yeah.
about. So, but I really appreciate being on here. And again, anything the hockey team can do. If you're a nonprofit, you need fundraising ideas, we can help you out there. But please come out and check one game out and,
Yeah.
and let us know.
Well, we've definitely been advocating for the team and just encouraging the community. So I believe the response is going to be great in October, and I hope it's that way and it sustains that way because, especially for those of us, families or not, this is, like I said, a lot of people always complain about not having things to do. We've been gifted with a great asset to our community. So we should be supportive of that, and hopefully it can sustain long term and have much success. And so, Scott, I appreciate you taking the time to come by and do this episode today. And as always, we appreciate y'all's viewership, and God willing, we'll see you on the next one.